There's a high chance that you're constantly consuming cancer and have no idea. Yes, you heard that right.
Report out this morning from the American Cancer Society finding that colon and breast cancer cases are rising among younger.
When you find out that you have cancer, you don't know what can be done about it.
Cancer hates it when you stop the sugar or stop all glucose.
Cancer is one of the deadliest diseases to exist, and history has shown that it is literally a death sentence, especially if not detected early enough. Relax, this video isn't to scare you, or maybe it is, just a little, so you'd be much more aware. As a matter of fact, what you should really be scared of and should avoid with every strength in you are these foods Dr. Barbara O'Neill warns about. Stay till the end to know if your favourite delight made it to the cancel list.
And there's a book in the library there, it's called Cancer is a Fungus by Dr. Tullio Simoncini. He's an Italian oncologist. So has he got a Nobel Prize, especially considering he was getting about a 90% success rate? Because you know what he would do? He would inject sodium bicarbonate straight into the cancer, and the cancer couldn't survive. Because with cancer, it thrives in an acid environment. It also is a high glucose consumer. And cancer also hates oxygen. So it likes an anaerobic environment, no oxygen.
Just like Dr. O'Neill said, cancer loves acid. How is this so? Here's a breakdown. Cancer cells often use a lot of glucose, leading to acidic conditions around tumours. This acidity can make cancer even more aggressive, aiding its spread to other parts of the body and worsening patient outcomes. The imbalance in acidity can be both a cause and a result of changes in some cell functions. Understanding the origin of acidity in cancer cells and the various mechanisms tumours use to resist, survive, or even thrive in acidic environments is crucial. These cells have adapted in fascinating ways to handle the stress of their acidic surroundings, and understanding these adaptations can help in developing new treatments. Barbara O'Neill has discussed the relationship between acid and cancer extensively. She explains that cancer cells thrive in acidic environments, which contrasts with healthy cells that prefer a more alkaline setting. This understanding underscores the importance of managing body acidity levels through diet and lifestyle to potentially inhibit cancer growth. Our bodies function best at a pH of about 7.4, which is slightly alkaline. To give you a quick science refresher, pH measures how acidic or alkaline something is. A pH of 7 is neutral, above 7 is alkaline, and below 7 is acidic. Our bodies thrive in an alkaline environment, but cancer prefers an acidic one. Though our bodies are naturally alkaline, stress, environmental toxins, and certain foods can push us into an acidic state. When your body becomes acidic, it creates a condition called acidosis. This isn't great because it hampers our body's optimal function. Long-term acidosis can cause inflammation, damage cells, hinder the development of red and white blood cells, and increase the chance of cellular errors. This environment becomes a playground for harmful bacteria and viruses, which can also contribute to cancer. Plus, acidity itself is a good breeding ground for cancer cells. One major contributor to body acidity is animal and dairy products, which put a heavy burden on our kidneys to restore the normal pH balance. You can measure your pH using saliva pH strips, or urine pH can also give you an indication. If you find you're acidic, it's essential to take steps to keep your body in an alkaline state. That's why you hear so much about alkaline water and diets. These aim to help you get your pH to the right level. But don't worry about complex information. The easiest way to stay alkaline is to eat lots of plant-based foods, especially those that are alkaline.
The pH of the human body is important because at different pHs, diseases grow, and at different pHs, it's very hard for disease to grow. and blood's reading on the pH scale is between 7.35 and 7.4. But in a cellular pH of 5.5, this is where disease thrives, especially yeasts, funguses, and cancer. Cancer loves acid. Cancer also loves no oxygen. The other thing cancer loves is sugar. And so when people come to us wanting help to conquer cancer, you see what we do? We suggest a diet that's highly alkalizing. We suggest ways to oxygenate the body, and we also greatly eliminate the glucose, the sugars going into the body.
Now that we know the relationship between cancer and acid, let's discuss the common foods which could, well, load up acid in your body. First, meat. No, don't let your eyes out of your sockets. We all love meat too, apart from, you know, the vegans. But the truth has to be told for us to be wary of the foods we consume.
As the years went by, he started to do his own research. And he did it on a lot of rats. You see, rats have the same gastrointestinal tract as human, but they only live 2 years, whereas humans live, what, 70, 80 years. So what you can see what would happen to a human in 80 years in a rat in 2 years. So what he did was he injected 20 rats with aflatoxin. 10 of the rats he gave 20% animal protein, 10 of the rats 5% animal protein. At the end of 2 years, every rat on the 20% animal protein was dying or already dead from liver cancer. But the 5% animal protein, there was no cancer.
Dr. Colin Campbell's research showed he could flip cancer cells on and off like a light switch just by changing the amount of meat and dairy the rats ate. Red meat and processed meat are the biggest acidic offenders in our diets. They're loaded with protein and phosphorus, which cranks up the acid levels in your body. Next, wheat. Wheat. Our modern wheat isn't what it used to be. The original wheat, called einkorn, had a fragile gluten structure, but over time it hybridized with a field grass to create emmer wheat, which had a bit stronger gluten. Fast forward to the 1950s, and emmer wheat got intensively crossbred into the complex hybrid wheat we know today. This wheat's protein structure is so tough that it's hard to digest, causing the gluten intolerance so many people deal with. By the 1990s, everything from pasta to cookies was made from this hybrid wheat. Farmers loved it because it produced a lot more grain. But safety studies? They kind of skipped those. That's why gluten intolerance is so common now, leading to brain fog and bloating. And the other one is caffeine. Now, you probably weren't expecting your favourite drinks to be on the slaughter table, but oh well. Caffeine, found in your coffee and energy drinks, is another acid-forming culprit. An unbalanced diet full of animal protein, caffeine, and processed foods puts a lot of stress on the body's pH balance. This stress can drain the body of essential minerals like sodium, potassium, magnesium, and calcium, making us more susceptible to chronic illnesses. So, moderation is key, and caffeine often comes with sugar, making things worse. Remember, Coca-Cola has a pH of 2.6 due to its caffeine and sugar combo. Not great. Alcohol is exempted from this list. Alcohol isn't food, but it's definitely acidic. It breaks down into acetaldehyde, a nasty neurotoxin that's bad for your brain. And finally, we have to call out tobacco. Tobacco isn't food either, but like alcohol, it creates an acidic environment in the body. Now the question is, do you need to cut out all acid-forming foods? Nope. The good news is you don't have to avoid them entirely. To keep a balanced pH level around 6.5, aim for 20% acid-forming foods and 70 to 80% alkaline-forming foods. That 20% should include greens, legumes, and nuts. Many foods in these groups are acid-forming. Grains, except those on the alkaline side. Legumes, except lima beans, lentils, and soy. And nuts, except almonds and Brazil nuts. So, in summary, the acidity in cancer cells is a big deal. It makes tumours more aggressive and challenging to treat. By exploring why cancer cells become acidic and how they adapt, as well as the challenges of measuring this acidity, we can better understand how to tackle cancer more effectively. Not only did Barbara talk about cancer's relationship with acid, she also talked about oxygen and glucose. And for us to understand this fully, we have to break this down.
Cancer hates it when you stop the sugar. Or stop.
Now, on Cancer Loves Sugar. All our body cells use glucose, you know, the simplest form of sugar, to produce energy. However, cancer cells have a metabolism that's about 8 times greater than that of normal cells, meaning they have a huge demand for sugar to stay alive. Or see it this way, when you eat, your blood sugar rises as your body breaks down food for energy. This sugar fuels all your cells, including both healthy and cancer cells. If their sugar supply is cut off, they start to starve and die, unless they can get sugar from another source. This is often seen in cancer patients who lose a lot of weight, as their body breaks down normal tissue to feed the cancer cells, leading to weight loss or cachexia.
She discovered that cancer loves sugar. The fact is that a cancer cell consumes 15 times the glucose of any other cell. At the end of the lecture, she said, "Oh dear." I said, "What is it?" She said, "I used to make I don't know if you're familiar with pavlovas. I think it's an Australian dessert, but it's egg whites beaten with sugar and then slowly baked. So it's like, I think you'd call it a meringue, is that right?" She used to make pavlovas, like meringues, and she used to make them this big. And on top, I think you put whipped cream and fruit, something like that. So she'd make a pavlova. She said, "I would put 16 cups of white sugar into a pavlova this big." She said, "I believe that I have just been feeding the cancer." Cancer hates it when you stop the sugar or stop all glucose. Cancer is not happy when you create an alkaline environment in the body. And cancer hates oxygen. I have many books in my library at home, being an avid reader, and I have many books on doctors, specialists, naturopaths worldwide who are conquering cancer. And when I read them, there are differences, there are slight differences. Some do IV vitamin C, some do apricot kernel seeds. So there's differences, but there's 3 common denominators. And I have put these 3 common denominators here. Let me show you why cancer cells love glucose. This week we've looked at this a few times. Here's the cell, the central business district of the human body. The glucose goes in. It goes through a 20-step pathway, and this 20-step pathway gives us 2 units of energy. The end result of the 20-step pathway is a chemical form of glucose called pyruvate. We'll just call it the P. It's the chemical form of glucose that gets fed into the 8-step pathway. This 8-step pathway is called the powerhouse of the cell for good reason. It delivers 36 units of energy. Whoa! What makes the difference? It's oxygen. This is the pathway that uses oxygen. This pathway uses no oxygen. This pathway, this 20-step pathway, is also a very fast pathway. So it's consuming a lot of glucose. So basically, this is a cancer cell. You will find many people who are, I always say, conquering cancer, no matter what stage. Not suffering from, not being taken down by, conquering cancer. You will find a lot of them have no energy. Very little energy, because a lot of their cells are running up here. That's where the cancer cells run. And that's a very fast pathway, so they're going to be eating up 15 times the glucose. And they don't need oxygen to run.
So, when we eat a diet high in sugar, including the table sugar we use in tea, we actually increase the risk of any rogue or cancerous cells continuing to grow rapidly. And when we talk about sugar, it's not just table sugar. This includes foods high in refined sugar like soda, sweets, and refined carbs like pastries, cakes, white and even brown bread, biscuits, and similar food. What about the sugar in natural foods like fruit and carbohydrate-rich foods? While these do contain sugar, the whole food package with fibre and other nutrients ensures that our body isn't flooded with sugar, unlike with refined sugars. It's important to remember that everyone has hundreds of cancer cells in their body, but most are either being repaired or removed. Those that grow faster than they can be removed will continue to grow until they become a tumour or cancer. So the amount of sugar you consume could significantly impact your cancer risk. Now that you know cancer cells need sugar to grow and survive, does it make sense to load up on refined sugar that could feed these cells? Is it wise to pump our kids with sweets, soda, biscuits, ice cream, cakes, sweetened drinks, and foods rich in refined sugars? Always remember, sugar feeds cancer. So we have an idea of cancer's preferred source of energy. What's next? You guessed right. We're starving that cancer.
That cancer. How do you starve it? To starve it, you've got to know what it loves. It loves glucose. And so we suggested 6 weeks, no sugar, no honey, no sweet at all. What's she going to eat? There's a lot of vegetables. There's a lot of legumes. There's a lot of nuts. There's a lot of seeds. So you can get a lovely variety. Some people that come to us, they decide to make Monday lima bean day, Tuesday lentil day, Wednesday organic tofu day, Thursday black-eyed bean day. There's so many that you can have a different one every day. And so many different vegetables.
Dr. Barbara O'Neill recommends a strict dietary regimen that eliminates sugar, honey, and other sweeteners for 6 weeks to reduce cancer's fuel sources. Instead, she suggests a diet rich in vegetables, legumes, nuts, and seeds, providing a variety of nutritious options. To help patients, she offers examples of how to structure meal plans, such as dedicating different days to specific legumes and incorporating a wide range of vegetables. Dr. O'Neill also talked about oxygen being a big threat to cancer. Let's discuss this. While normal cells primarily use oxygen to fuel metabolism, aerobic metabolism, cancer cells do things differently. They prefer anaerobic metabolism, which means they don't use oxygen and actually can't thrive in an oxygen-rich environment. This is a big deal because the amount of oxygen that reaches your cells can play a crucial role in either promoting or hindering cancer growth. Some integrative and alternative cancer treatments leverage this concept by placing patients in oxygen chambers to flood their tissues with high-pressure oxygen, aiming to slow or stop cancer growth. But let's talk about what we can do in our daily lives. We get oxygen into our bodies by breathing, so anything that enhances and deepens our breathing will increase the oxygen supply to our tissues. Exercise is a perfect example. It not only increases the depth of our breath, but also ensures that the oxygen we inhale is well circulated throughout our bodies. Aerobic exercises that focus on heart and breath enhancement have been shown in many studies to significantly reduce cancer risk. Deep breathing exercises are also incredibly beneficial. Just spending 3 to 5 minutes a day on focused breath work can help prevent or even manage cancer. Imagine that. Breathing is now at the forefront of cancer management. On the flip side, anything that negatively affects our breathing, like being overweight, snoring, or stress, can impact tissue oxygenation and potentially increase cancer risk.
And so when people come to us wanting help to conquer cancer, you see what we do? We suggest a diet that's highly alkalizing. We suggest ways to oxygenate the body. And we also greatly eliminate the glucose.
So, what's the next food we should put on the slaughter table? Cheese. Aged cheese, to be precise.
I found out that Elizabeth Cott was very fussy in her house. But I also found that Elizabeth Cott loved cheese. A lady did our program. She said, I took my little daughter to the cheese factory. We saw huge big blocks of cheese and they were green. What they do is they cut the green off and then cut it up and package it. So it's very difficult to buy cheese without a fungus in it. So to starve the fungus, you make sure that it's not getting sugar. Now, one would say, but Barbara, doesn't every cell need glucose to run? It does. But the quick release glucose in your carbohydrates and your sugars, they basically just are feeding that. If you can make sure you've got heaps of oxygen in your body, the glucose from the lower delivery glucose fuels will get down.
What's the blue in blue vein cheese? It's mold. But that's just the beginning of the story. Most cheeses are acid forming, with the exception of fresh ones like cottage cheese or ricotta, which hover around a neutral pH of 7. Dairy products are notorious for being acid forming due to their high potential renal acid load, PRL. This means they have an acidic effect on the body after digestion. High protein and high phosphorus foods such as dairy create acidic compounds during metabolism. This makes the kidneys work overtime to neutralize or excrete them. Let's break it down dramatically. Milk is only slightly acid forming. Cheese ranges from moderately to strongly acid forming depending on the type. And yogurt, despite its many benefits, is also slightly acid forming. So the next time you're reaching for that tempting cheese platter, remember the hidden acid forming impact it might have on your body. It's a small detail, but it makes a big difference in how you might feel in the long run. Still on our journey into healthy eating and cancer prevention, Dr. Barbara O'Neill shared some amazing tips on swapping out harmful fats and sugars for healthier alternatives. Instead of regular cream, she recommends using coconut cream. It's a lactose-free option that still gives you that rich, creamy texture without all the added sugars. And when it comes to cooking oils, she suggests using coconut oil or olive oil instead of butter. These oils offer healthier fats and are less likely to cause the inflammation and cellular stress linked to cancer. By making these simple swaps, you can really improve the nutritional value of your meals while still enjoying delicious food. Now, let's talk about herbs. Certain herbs have powerful antifungal properties that can help keep your body in tip-top shape. Garlic is a standout here. It's a potent fungal killer, aligning with Dr. Tullio Simoncini's theory that cancer could be like a fungus. Alongside garlic, she recommends olive leaf extract, grapefruit seed extract, and paudaco, a South American herb. Essential oils like oregano, clove, and thyme are also super effective. But remember, they're very strong, so just a few drops will do the trick. These herbs and oils can help create an internal environment that's less acidic, lower in sugar, and higher in oxygen, conditions that are less favorable for cancer and fungi. Dr. O'Neill also emphasized the importance of alkalizing your body. One of the best ways to do this is by drinking green drinks. To make a great wellness retreat, you have to pick wild greens from the gardens. Then blend about 4 cups of these greens with water until it turns a rich green. Strain it and have their guests drink a litre throughout the day, just as she explained in one of her teachings. This practice helps detoxify the body and supports the immune system, creating a less hospitable environment for cancer. She suggested including super greens like barley green, wheatgrass, and spirulina in your diet. These greens are incredibly high in minerals that promote alkalinity in the body. She also advised minimizing acid-forming foods like meat, sugar, caffeine, and alcohol. Also, balancing acid and alkaline food, taking a diet that's about 80 to 90% alkaline foods, lots of veggies, and 10 to 20% acid-forming foods like walnuts, pecans, and black-eyed peas. This balance helps maintain the body's alkaline state without completely cutting out certain food groups. Dr. O'Neill also shared a touching story about a patient who regularly checked in to ensure she was following the right treatments. One key treatment was using castor oil compresses. According to her, Castor oil is known for its deep penetration abilities and can break down lumps, bumps, adhesions, and even bone spurs without harming the bones. The key with castor oil is persistence. It's not a quick fix, but a gradual process.
So what are some of the herbs? I define it in my book, garlic. Garlic is a potent fungal killer. And this is what Dr. Tullio Simoncini did when he said cancer is a fungus. Now, a person can have a yeast presence in their body and not have cancer, but if it continues, it certainly can develop to that, if it's given the right conditions, if it's given lots of sugar, acid environment, and not much oxygen. So garlic, olive leaf extract, grapefruit seed extract, also portiaco. Portiaco is a South American herb. Also some essential oils. And remember, essential oils are very, very strong. So you only have a few drops at a time. So the essential oils are oregano. That's quite a potent fungal killer. Also clove is a potent one, and thyme. You can take foods and drinks that alkalize. And one of the most alkalizing drinks you can take is green drinks. Now what we do at Misty Mountain, because we've got a big garden, we gather wild greens, anything edible, usually about 4 at a time. Maybe about 4 cups of wild greens, blend it with 4 cups of water till the water's green, strain it, and then we give it to our guests who are here to conquer cancer. We give them a litre to drink all. You can also take barley green. That doesn't look right. I think it's EY. Yes, barley green. You can buy products called super greens, wheatgrass, spirulina, all the greens. The greens are incredibly high in minerals. They're alkalizing minerals, and when you drink them, it comes into the tissues and it alkalizes. The most acid-forming foods are meat, sugar, caffeine, alcohol. In my book, I've got a chapter called The Acid-Alkaline Balance where I list them. The most alkaline foods are your vegetables. So lots of vegetables. Eating lots of vegetables every day, no limit on the vegetables. So that's how you can alkalize, keep away from the acid. Now there are some foods that are acid forming, like your rice, like your walnuts, your pecans, black-eyed peas. There are some acid foods, but to get the correct balance, we need to be taking about 80 to 90% alkaline foods and about 10 to 20% acid-forming foods. So it's perfectly fine to have a little bit of those foods that are on the acid line, as long as most of your food is from the alkaline. She would ring me every few weeks, "Barbara, am I doing it right? Am I doing it right?" She also began to put castor oil compresses on the breast. Castor oil penetrates deeper than any other oil, and wherever it penetrates, it can break up lumps, bumps, adhesions. It'll even break up a bone spur, but it'll never break up your bone. How does it do that? Well, that's one question we'll ask God in those heavenly courts, is that right? All I can tell you is that Psalm 104 verse 14 states that God gave herbs for the service of man. So when the herbs come in, they work with you. They know that that's an unnatural formation and they'll break it down. So little by little by little, the castor oil will break it down. This is not overnight. This is not after a week. Just keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. And also with breast cancer, it's important to make sure what's touching the breast is natural fibre. I challenge you ladies, try and find a bra made out of natural fibre.
What did you find most surprising? Let me know in the comments below.